Welcome everyone. My name is Sohil Vohra. I'm a principal consultant and owner at No Astas Solutions. No Astas Solutions is a workflow consultancy business servicing clients all over Australia. A little bit about myself. Before starting No Astas Solutions, I have over 12 years of experience working in various industries and various roles ranging from admin to CFO positions. I work directly with the business owners, decision makers, and management most of the time. Hence, I'm able to relate to the issues they face or the business faces in running the business itself. Now, these issues can range from process related issues, it can be people related issues, or it can be selecting the right tech tool itself related issues. I'm also a vetted ClickUp consultant. Now, ClickUp is the work management tool which I'll be showing you in this webinar. So, yes, that's a little bit about me. Now, let's go to what we'll be doing in this webinar or the points we'll be discussing. So, this webinar is about understanding the benefits of having well implemented digital workflows for business processes in general. Also, we'll focus on some additional benefits businesses can achieve by using ClickUp as a work management tool with its specific features to develop and implement these digital workflows. Later in the webinar, I'll be showcasing some use cases. Points I will try to cover in this webinar will be benefits of smart digital workflow. I will try to understand what are the benefits which comes from having well-defined and deployed smart digital workflow. We'll talk about templates, ready-made templates which are available in a lot of work management tool these days. Is that the right choice, or custom building your own workflows and then templating that in a work management tool is the better option? Or it can be a mix of both. Depends on the depends on the business requirement. We'll talk about how in some instances dashboard reporting, particularly in ClickUp, and some views in ClickUp, how they personally I find them to be way better than Excel reporting. We'll talk about should you aim at partial automations or full automations. We'll talk about feature in ClickUp which is about recording clip, how I find that to be a better option or better choice compared to standard operating procedure docs in some instances. From then on we'll talk about a use case for service industry, say like Bookkeeper, and after that this is very interesting. I've created a simple sample project workflow in my workspace in ClickUp. In this workflow you will see some you will have an idea of how the sales, design and development and accounts team interact within a project at my end. So I would highly recommend for you to stay tuned to see this, because this particular workflow or the simple sample project workflow I have drafted in a manner to make it very easy for the attendees to understand. Okay, moving on, I'll talk about a form feature in ClickUp, how requesting a leave through that form feature not only tackles the issue of approval of leave, but how work can be managed once for that person who is asking for the leave, like who will be delegated that work and how it can be delegated. We'll talk about interaction with third parties or external stakeholders who are not part of your team, but you have an option of interacting from your work management tool in ClickUp to interact with these third parties either as a guest access, or else you can there are something called public sharing views. we'll talk about how forms feature can be used to gather information from your clients or external parties to do the work. And the example we can talk about today is the subcontractors. How subcontractors can be a space or a list can be created for subcontractors, and how we can interact with the subcontractors and get reported from the subcontractors. So this is a general overview. It's not in a particular order, and it's not comprehensive with all the benefits and all the features, of course, because again, time is a constraint today. What you're looking at the screen right now is my workspace in ClickUp, and within that there are different hierarchies. There is a space, folder, list, there is task and subtask within that space. What I have opened right now is a mind map view, which is coming from the space. So this is a space. There are various folders I have created for this webinar, and within that folders there are lists, and within that list there are task and subtask. So you can see straight away, just a simple view of mind map can show me how my space or that project, and what are our different things involved in that project, and how different functions and task and subtask. So the first point I'm going to talk about is the benefit of smart digital workflow, and within that it's about team management, how you can better team management. Team management comes directly by having good transparency, and transparency comes by providing accountability and responsibility to a task. So what I mean is, whenever I have a task, straight away will assign an assignee to that task. You can see that I'll put a due date, and I will define the task itself in the form of task and subtask. So by doing so, it helps me in achieving who is going to do the task, how much within the project or within the task that person is going to do, and when it's going to be done. So let's say first one, the who is going to do the task. It's very crucial, particularly for separation of duty. Imagine a scenario. Let's take an example. A client fill in a form from your website, and it came to a generic email which is monitored by 4 or 5 people in your team. Someone from that team reads that email, but simply forgets to forward it on to the next person. So what happened here? The client inquiry came in, someone simply forgot to forward it on, and potentially you lost an account or client or potential customer. So and then the next thing is, you will try to find out who was the person who did that, or who forgot to forward that particular email to the next person. So to tackle this in ClickUp, what I do is create the task, and I create an assignee. So if that function didn't happen, I at least know whom to talk to, and I can identify where the chain was broken, the process chain was broken. So that who question is answered. And not only that, because you have someone accountable and responsible for and which is defined in the form of task, and it's been assigned, you can credit that person for doing that task on time and as expected, or else you can talk to that person or that individual if that work is not done as expected or in time. So it helps you to not only monitor the progress, it helps you to actually talk to the individuals straight away, if whether it's appraising their work, or else it's about having a review of why things are not going as per the plan. Now, how much? So for how much, so capacity planning, team planning, and the work planning itself, it's quite important for me. So the way I do that is, whenever there is a task, I assign an assignee, I put a start date, I put a due date, and I put estimated hours. By doing so, when I go to this workload view, I have the team member, and within the team member I have defined the capacity. So I have defined 80 hours for, so 40 hours for 1 week, so this is 2 weeks capacity. And I have defined for individuals, and within that uh, individuals, you can see this 8 hours. Now this is coming from, because it there is a task which has the estimated hours and which has the start and due date has been assigned to this person, and as soon as I assign that, it's updated here. So now, so that gives me, it's a very handy way for me to know how much a task is estimated at, who is doing what, who has capacity, who doesn't have capacity. For example, there's Tom person on this particular day. He's 8 hours capacity per day, but then he's doing 16 hours of work. So now he's over capacity for that day. So if you look at 2 weeks, he has enough capacity. But when I look at this, okay, we need to move this task either on other days, or we can move this to some person. So let's say I choose to increase this work to, instead of 1 day, I spread it over 1 more day. And you see now he has 5.5 hours, 5.5 hours, and 5 hours 20 minutes, and that work is spread. So that's how it's very convenient to have a digital workflow and this workload view in ClickUp. I just go in there and say, okay, Tom doesn't have this much capacity, or else we can spread it, or we can actually move that task and distribute tasks to people who have capacity to do that. So how much is very important, because I'm pretty sure you would come across, if you have team members or employees in your organization, that they are doing a lot of work which you are not aware of, and mainly which is true, because they are talking a lot about unplanned work. When you don't have digital workflows, you haven't defined your workflow. Yeah, you haven't accounted for unplanned work. But if you have workload capacity planning like this, you have a defined digital workflow, you can actually keep room for unplanned work and schedule that, and that way the employee is able to achieve, and the employee is able to achieve the work in time and in a qualitative manner. So workload view is very important, but then again, all these views comes from defining the work itself in the form of digital workflow. Now when is a very simple feature or simple benefit, because let's say it's a project, or it's a department, or it's an individual. Most of the work, either it comes with an due date, that it has to be finished on that due date, or else when you're doing capacity planning, you put the due date and then make sure that it's been achieved on that day. So it's entirely flexible. But some task, let's say some accounting tasks are due on a particular day, you already know the due date. But let's say within my projects, different task, so I can say, okay, this is due on this day, and who is going to do that. So when is very important, so that if someone is lagging behind, the work itself is lagging behind, or falling behind, the project is falling behind, I am able to monitor this from the due date. And then for that, calendar view helps me to see that in ClickUp. So if I go to a particular calendar view, I can see on this day who is doing what, and if I need to move or reshuffle or see progress, I can see from the calendar view itself. So calendar view here is integrated. I think I have integrated mine with my Gmail as well, Gmail calendar. So yeah, so there is that calendar view. So you can see how what or who, when, and how much is answered by making this digital workflow in ClickUp, and that takes care of the transparency issue, and that makes me handle my team better, and my team is more efficient. Let's now try to understand how time saving can be achieved with a smart digital workflow. Getting time back to focus on the core activity is no doubt the top benefits a lot of business owners are able to achieve by deploying an efficient and optimized digital workflow with appropriate work management tool. Time savings can come to your way in various ways with digital workflows. For example, weekly sales meeting within the team. During the meeting, a lot of new information comes to the decision maker from the client facing team, and it has to be processed, and action has to be decided by the manager and management in general. So as the information has to be introduced to management during the meetings, and is the new information, more discussions and queries is raised, and hence meeting scheduled for 1 hour may drag for several hours. But let's say if this team had a centralized digital workflow and updated regularly for the sales activity, all the participants would have been on the same page and would have been informed, and would have been stayed informed. Hence, all participants of this meeting would come better prepared and are in a way better position to take a decision quicker. Other example of time saving can come in the form of reports. So most of the meetings, or else review meetings, sales meeting, operations meeting, admin meeting, client meeting, a lot of information comes through during this meeting, and a lot of reports are discussed during these meetings. So other way of saving time is creating dashboards, which will remove the need of asking for the reports and waiting for the report when the person who is doing those tasks finish those tasks. Then they actually put it in the form of report, then it goes to the management reads and reviews, and then there is queries and whatnot. So dashboards basically helps in saving time of taking out this need of asking altogether. So in here, if you go to dashboards, I've shown there is this dashboard. This is just a sample dashboard I have done to show you what a dashboard might look like. There is a lot of customizations. Various work management tools have different ways of putting it out there, but the theme is basically you in ClickUp particularly, it's highly flexible. It has so many widgets. Try to open and show if I can. So there is task list and workload, calculations, time reporting, portfolio by assignees, textbook, chats, and there is lots charts by tags, by assignees, by priorities, by time tracking and whatnot. But the whole point is, instead of asking the person who has done the task about the report, why don't it's better to create dashboards which are not only real time. So I think this has different you can update or refresh it, and there are intervals you can define in there, and then that way you can actually define what you want to see. Like I wanted to see my calendar here as embedded one. I can chat, there's this chat widget. I can chat with my team or whomever I have given access to. I can go to the task from here, see progress of out of 20 tasks for, so it's a portfolio widget, and there is a lot more filters and a lot more you can do. There is another way of looking at it. Instead of asking the Excel reports and whatnot, I like to see and visualize the work as much as possible. So this is a good way of so this is something I would define the digital workflow in a manner that it gives me this output So I don't have to ask my team how much money was collected, what's being paid, and like I don't have to wait for that weekly meeting for this to happen, and I don't have to ask question in that short period of time and increase the duration of meeting. I rather be prepared. I look at it and I only intervene when I need to. So that's another way of looking at saving time. My favorite is is you can save time itself for allocating work if you have a appropriate digital workflow templated. So for example, let's say I have multiple projects, and it will take me time to each time create all the tasks within that project. And let's say if this nets actually this one, the nets, I have a similar project next time. I don't have to go about creating the same task and structure again. I don't even have to allocate the same people for the same task again. I don't have to put in the due dates. There is something called remapping of dates in ClickUp. So next time I have this project, I don't have to spend my time in writing down manually the same steps, putting the same structure on, assigning people manually. I just basically go, I want a new space, I go to the template, and if I have templated this, all I do is just select the template which I have created, works well with me for such type of project. Use template, I can import everything, I can select what I don't want, but I import everything. I can remap dates which suits which are more current dates, or else I can leave as it is. So this way you save time of allocating work itself. Now imagine when you have multiple projects, if you can just have a template for a project which not only puts in the task involved in the project but also allocates the people. And as soon as you do that, it updates the calendar view and the workload view. So again, our team capacity planning and everything is also taken care of. It goes down to how well you have made your prior template. So that's another way of saving time. I can go on and on about time saving, but time saving is essentially becoming more efficient at what you do at work by proper designing and implementing of digital workflows with appropriate work management tools. So obviously I'm using ClickUp, so I'm showing you the features ClickUp has, which makes me time efficient and gives me more time back for my core activities. So let's go on to the next one now. This brings me to automation's benefit of having smart digital workflows. Now, various work management tools have different ways of automizing processes, but it's not about how many automations. It's not only about, I should say, about having that automation feature. It's about how to use that automations effectively and efficiently to get the best outcome for your processes. Process automations reduces the number of unwanted and unnecessary tasks. It happens naturally when automation need is identified, planned, and designed while making digital workflows. For example, in sales list here, I have defined an automation that if something goes on hold from this task, change the assignee to a particular person and make the priority as urgent. Now doing this automation saves me time of sending emails back and forth explaining what the task is about, what the situation is about. I rather the workflow is if something goes from in this status from done to on hold, assignees change, and whatever communication has to be done can be done within the task in the form of comments within the task, or you can add a chat view and chat here, or else you can have a direct meeting with the person involved or relevant people. So to demonstrate that, for example, this quote and proposals, it goes to from done to let's say on hold. You will see that this will change to Tom, and it will change the priority to urgent. This is how I define this automation. So let's see, so it makes more sense to you. So from here I put it on hold, and it's gone on hold. Give it a second, it goes on hold, and the automations has clicked in. I just need to come back, refresh it kind of. So if I come back here, you can see my internet is a bit slow today, sorry. So you can see that I have assigned another assignee, which is Tom here, and the priority has changed. So that's a way of giving real time information when it's needed on things which are not going according to the plan. So that itself saves you so much time being proactive rather than waiting for that Monday meeting or that design meeting or different sort of meetings. Now Tom is aware because a notification would have gone to him saying, okay, we need to deal with this as an urgent priority and tackle it straight away. So you can see various uses of automations. There are a lot of automations in there. So there is status. So there are when this happens, then this can happen. Then there are layers. You can do what it should do, the triggers and action. So anyways, automations is a very detailed and useful, simple but effective way of automating thing is repetitive task. Let's say if accounts has a task which it has to recur every day. For example, let's say if I have to check credit application every day, I can actually put this as a recurring task. So weekly I can recur it weekly, I can do it monthly, yearly, day after, or there are a lot of customizations. But at the end of the day, repeating task, I put it on autopilot here by recurring it on a particular defined way, and then I don't have to worry about the reminders and or I don't have to worry about forgetting it. So this is again automations plays a significant role. So yeah, automations again is a huge area of discussion I can have, but I'm bound by time, so I'll move on to the next one. Okay, let's talk about how digital workflows help in process backups. um, Digital workflows, as they are defined on a tech tool, provides you processes as a backup, because the task involved in completion of a process is already laid out in the form of workflows. In case any person who is doing task leaves, the next person can be straight away assigned to the established workflow and structure. Hence, with people, the processes are not lost. Rather, the processes stay and assignees can be changed. This not only provides a process backup but also saves time. If new employees was to be trained, as it workflows are in digital in nature, it can be saved as a template and always can be referred to in need. So you know how I spoke about earlier how I template. So basically, let's say one of my team member goes away or leaves, finds another job, or for whatever reason, I don't lose the information on how things were done by that individual, and then it can be referred to, because the work and the task are saved digitally and archived digitally. So let's say if Tom leaves and this guy comes in, so all I do is create, when I'm creating the template, I just go, I have the work templated here, and as soon as I use the template, whatever comes as Tom there, I can replace it, update my template for next time use. So that way it's a process backup. You don't lose the intellectual or the knowledge around that task, how it was done and completed. So process backup is a big benefit, especially when clients, especially sorry, when employees, long-term employee leaves. And it also not only helps in creating process backup, it also has a very efficient impact on getting the trained in getting the new employee trained quickly. Higher customer satisfaction is another benefit which we need to understand how digital workflow, in this case, how ClickUp helps your digital workflows in better communication with your clients and project progress reporting and other communications and interactions with your client. So digital workflows done on ClickUp comes with a public view, and also there are some guest access which leads to better communications and involvement from the client. As a result, the project completion probability within the estimated time and budget increases. On the client side, choosing to give guest access or public view sharing will give transparent and real-time communication, leading to more transparency, better communication, ultimately better customer satisfaction. Before, say for example myself, for the work I do, before we had forms or emails or spreadsheet to gather information from the client. Now on most of our projects, we tend to give guest access to the relevant list of folder with the task defined and assigned to the clients to complete, and also view only sharing of list view gives the client real-time update of their project progress. So let's say design and develop this particular list. Instead of asking for all the information in the form of forms, I can define a particular task and assign it. First of all, I need to give access to the client as an guest to this list, and then on I can assign and I can actually get the client to fill in the information directly into the project which lives in this workspace of mine. So it saves me great amount of time, has much better transparency in communication. So if I go here and go to sharing and permission, you can already see that I have so see this particular let's say this Tom is given a guest access and he's been given a full access. But there are options you can give. Either you can give a full access, which can create task in the list, it can edit task in the list, it can only comment, it can view only option. So if I choose to give full, and Tom, let's assume he is a client of ours, then basically I just give the guest access to that particular list or task, and then I create a task and ask Tom to complete that task. So for example, let's do one here. I say project info needed. I just create that task and I assign that to Tom to complete. I put a due date. So that way basically Tom has access to this list. Tom can look into that task, and I can actually define what information I need. I can write down more description also. See, but anyways, I hope you get the main point here. The main point is by creating tasks which are able to be shared, or else give guest access to your clients directly. They actually give you information straight away onto the project itself. Saves you a lot of emails, saves you a lot of time, saves you a lot of error, and more than anything saves gives transparency to the clients about how well the project is going. And this turns into higher customer satisfaction and client satisfaction, and they love it, because they don't have to ask question, and even if they have a question, they can ask the question in the task itself, and it can be resolved within the task in the form of comments. And so you can see how useful this feature is. But again, the basis is to have a digital workflow, and in this case, these features I'm talking about is in ClickUp. So from here on, I'll try to cover all the points as soon as possible, because I'm again repeating, I'm time bound and I want to cover as much as possible. Now the points which are going to follow now is more about understanding some of the elements related to digital workflows. So the next one is, should you use a ready-made template, or should you design your own custom workflow which matches your processes? There is never a straightforward yes or no answer, but what I can say is the observation I have had. A lot of businesses, they run after a templated solution which are ready-made. In my opinion, it works for businesses who are in their infant stage or who have just been started, because they don't have a process. They can afford to choose someone else's process and accommodate their own processes into those templates, and can work for them. But for mature businesses who have their processes already defined, and most of the businesses, they have their unique way of doing the same process. They might have their unique sales process, they might have their unique project completion process, they might have their unique way of managing team or allocating work. So for all those businesses, in my opinion and observation, I have seen it needs time and understanding of your own processes first of all, and then you need to have proper you need to invest your time, money and energy in understanding the tech tool you are going to use. Then comes in the difficult task of matching your requirements with the system feature. But definitely, in my observation, mature businesses who already have defined processes, they are keen on not only creating their processes digitally, but they are always on a hunt for making it even better than where it was, because obviously things which were not being able to achieve in the prior manual processes, with the help of work management tool, those businesses decision maker, they're able to see how more efficient they can get into their day-to-day operations or work in general. The next one is, could you do better than Excel reporting? So customizable dashboards is the one I showed you earlier, to just give you an idea of what it looks like in ClickUp. But customizable dashboards, a well thought dashboard can visually provide information in real time in how your business processes are being performed, what outcomes are being achieved. I use the word well designed because there is a ton of types of dashboards, but you need to select the correct fit from all the options. Dashboards is basically showing you data in easily visualized way, but if you crowd the dashboard space, it beats the purpose. It's more like the KPI excels, where you want to visualize data related to measuring your key performance or key performance or purpose. But dashboards here doesn't need the work to manually update Excel. As soon as you update the task information, the dashboard reflects it. So it saves you time of entering manually, like you sometimes have to while you are updating your KPI spreadsheet. Dashboards creating in ClickUp is highly customizable and easy to make, and is created with ready to use widget, with individual widgets having further filters and conditions you can work on. Like let me show you a dashboard here. Like for example, this dashboard If you look at this dashboard, this is me and my philosophy. And then again, I wanted to have my calendar here to see what are my active booking calendars. I wanted to see in general my progress of all the work which is being happening in my workspace. And then I wanted to have individual portfolios by the different spaces or folders. Here it's all the folders. And then if I wanted to go to a particular list, so I have actually done it. I put in filter, so I don't need to look at all the information available in my digital workflows or workspace. Dashboard is a place where either I choose to visually look at things which I want to keep to play a monitor role, or else wherever I'm working, I can put them in a task list. Dashboards, definitely for me, they are way better than Excel. I have no doubt about it in terms of what I'm trying to achieve in my workspace. So and because it's just very real time, it's less manual oriented, and visually it's more appealing. But obviously you can't have dashboards replacing Excel, but dashboards, in my opinion, works way better in some instances, like I've shown here. Like this dashboard shows me my embedded calendar view, and not only that, in the same place I can see diagrams, I can see my task itself, and not only that, I click the task and I can go to the task also. So that way I find I can do better than Excel reporting, because I'm using dashboards in ClickUp. This brings me to the next topic, whether partial or full automation. Automations in general are key to reducing unwanted tasks and reducing manual work, hence lesser human errors. Again, whether partial, most, or full automation, which one is better for your business workflows, depends on the workflow optimization needs. A lot of businesses to go from no automations to one-click solution to all their problems, and a lot of business choose to have manual checkpoints with automations. I try to keep a balance between automation and having checkpoints in place to see that for any reason, if like human errors, there can be system glitches, and you don't want to be in a situation where the automation, you heavily rely on full automations and the system glitches, and instead of having automized processes, nothing happens. So preparing better for working around full automations is another important fundamental, I would say, to remember. So to give you an example, I use a scheduling app for booking, for scheduling and booking meetings with me, online video meetings. So the process is basically, there is this link for my calendar in Calendly. The client sees this link, selects the time and the date, puts in the details, and books the time with me. As soon as the client books that booking, Calendly sends an email with the video meeting link to the client, and at the same time notifies me separately via email saying that it has been booked. There's another way I have automized this activity. So basically, there is an integration between Calendly and ClickUp, wherein something booked in Calendly can create a task in ClickUp. So that's where I can see booking as a task through automations or integrations in ClickUp. But for whatever reason, that integration or automation between Calendly and ClickUp is not working, I have created scheduling related reminders in Calendly, so that if the task is not created in ClickUp for whatever reason, at least Calendly is sending me and the client reminders of the meeting. So that's my approach about having automations, having reasonable automations in place with checkpoints. As I said earlier, a lot of people want, a lot of businesses go from no process to full automation, and they're happy with it. But I use a more safer approach of having checkpoints in place with effective automations, I would say. So let's talk about when I prefer recording clips featuring ClickUp compared to writing long docs or writing standard operating procedures docs. Now, most of us have an idea about standard operating procedures and docs related to it. So really, I wanted to talk more about recording clip function in ClickUp, how I see them to be a better fit in certain circumstances like onboarding, team training, employee training. Let's talk about so for demonstrating that, what I have done is I have made a small clip already from ClickUp. This clip is about how forms can be completed. So what I have done is made that clip by using this record clip feature in ClickUp, within ClickUp, and then I have put that link into the task itself. So under forms, under test, as a task, I have put that as that clip itself in here, so that anyone who wants to know, and now please do remember this is just an internal clip for showing how to fill up a form, test form we have made. So I'll play this first to make more sense out of it, what I'm talking about. So to fill up a form, put in the task name, put in the priority, put in the due date you want, put in the contact details, put in the reference if there is any, put the description, and if you have attachment you can attach, or else you can just submit the form and the form will be submitted. So you can see, rather than giving new team member a long document, either printed or PDF version with long text and screenshots to make sense of the process, we use clips feature in ClickUp. It is very handy and quick to use. And even better, we actually save the clips related to the relevant task in the task itself. So in the future, we don't have to look for it. It's present in the task you are trying to learn. Now, I feel that's a great option. And so now you can see, not only I am talking about what has to be done by making clips, I'm showing what and how the actual task is done in order. Isn't that better than writing long docs? Yes, recording clips are not always the better choice over SOPs, but when it comes to particularly onboarding employees to workflows made up on ClickUp itself, which the employee is going to work on, I find it to be very powerful and efficient way to do it. So now let's move on to the next one. Let's talk about a use case for bookkeepers. Bookkeepers do a lot of tasks for the client, like data entry, report sending, AR, AP, and so on. Bookkeeper, if they are using ClickUp, a list, they can create a list of clients, and they can basically put in all the tasks for that client they need to complete within that list. For example, we go to client week 1 here, and all the task in here has been completed. But let's go to client A here and see if there is any. Okay, so this is a good example. So basically you can see, assuming, let's say there is a bookkeeper who has a client, and they are doing report, payroll, weekly, AR, and AP. So there are two ways work can be communicated to the client itself. So client A can be given a cached access to that list by the bookkeeper, so they can see the progress in real time. The other thing is they can only give public sharing view option. So this is public sharing view So anyone with this link can access this view. So it's about view only. So this is not about giving guest access. That way the bookkeeper can communicate the progress. You don't have to, the client don't have to come back to the bookkeeper asking the progress of the task. Bookkeeper don't have to create separate reports. As they finish off task, they can mark or put in details here and then give the public view for the list view, and that way the client knows what's going on. The other good thing is a lot of these features a lot of these tasks are recurring tasks, and hence even for the bookkeeper, if they set up as a recurring, it creates so they can recur it weekly, daily, monthly, yearly. That way it acts like not only like an reminder, but also it creates the new task. So the task creation itself doesn't have to be reminded, and that way it's also a very handy tool. The other way to look around it is, let's say if you are a client and you want the bookkeeper to complete certain task and you want to be reported in a certain manner, you can create a list of tasks which the bookkeeper needs to do and report back to you, and then the bookkeeper can work from there and update it from there. So the next one quickly I wanted to talk about is or rather give you an overview of how I deal with projects, or give you a glimpse in the working and a take for a project in terms of the workflow involved in it. So once I've shown you earlier the Calendly app which I use for booking and scheduling meetings with the client. As soon as that's done, the client gets an email with all the Zoom meeting links, and then at the same time, because there's an integration going on with Calendly and ClickUp, a task is created in here. Once the meeting is successfully or the project has been won, I come in here, create a new space. I generally try to create a new space for my project, use the template which is pre-made from the workflows I have done earlier, and then apply that template. Once that template is applied, all the tasks, so the folder, the list, and the task within the list and the subtask comes in with the right team member assigned to it. If I need to make changes, I can make the changes here. Then the next thing is so you can see how my sales design and development team, how I can use a separate list for getting information from the client using the forms feature. I can also edit this if I need a different kind of forms for different information needed. As soon as so the accounting team, as and when they do their accounting, let's say raising invoices into their accounting packages, they can come in here and update the details about that invoice in here, and that way everyone is the sales team and everyone knows what's going on with the invoicing also, and are updated at the same time as soon as the accounts team updates the task here. Now, so the other thing is you can see how all my sales design and development and the back office function can live into the one space under the folder. And once that's done, I can go to the actual project level, which is the space here, and I can use different views. Now this is for me monitoring how things are going on with the project. So there is board views, so I'll let it. So yeah, so board views are again, they have different, you can sort by, you can put filters, and there are each views come with their unique features. So there is another view, it's a box view. Now I like to look at the box view because it gives all the people who are working how much is done, not assigned, who is having more workload, and then I can see the task itself from here as well, whether it's open and completed or what's going on. Obviously there are filters. If if I only want to see certain signees, I can do that. I can do by due date, and there is a lot more features going on in there. There is Gantt view, calendar view. So another one which I find useful is the calendar view, which gives me by the day. So calendar view gives me overview of how the day is looking, or I can actually do it by various time intervals also. But yeah, so this is for today. Then workload view, I spoke about it earlier. So yeah, so that's the workload view. And the mind map view is very important for me to see the actual flow of the project and the task and subtask involved in each functions, and that way I know if it looks right here. Generally it's looking right during the execution of the project as well for me. Now this is about views. I obviously spoke about dashboard earlier. So dashboard is also a very handy tool in terms of knowing what's going on. So again, dashboard, I can customize as I want to see things here, and that is also an effective way for me to monitor the progress of the project. The other thing is in terms of communication, I spoke about the guest access or the public views of certain views, like the list view is a good view for giving the public view link. That way the client can be communicated about the progress of a certain task, if you like, or else the guest access as I explained earlier. So you can see, and hopefully you are able to understand the flow here, how digital workflows made on ClickUp helps me not only to plan right, to manage team accurately, how to I don't even have to go out of this space to communicate with the client. If I have to, I can use various features in here, and then all the attachments, all the clips required for training internally, or if there is comments, and I can have chat also here. So there is a lot you can do within the project, so I don't have to leave this space. Most of the project related task and subtask have been defined here into the right category or into the right list, and that way and then there is automations which I have used. If something is not going according to the plan, there are certain automations which click in. There is a lot to talk about, but I'm running out of time. But hopefully you get an idea of how useful this digital workflow on ClickUp has been for a lot of projects which I do. Now I quickly wanted to talk about how employee leave, a simple process happening about approving an annual leave, into how digital workflow in ClickUp can help tackling that process. So for example, there is an employee who wants to take a leave. They can come in here, and basically there is a separate folder for that. There is a form which we have built. You can obviously add it. Let's say this employee wants to take a leave, so it will say, okay, I want to task name leave next week, reason for leave, let's say personal, assign it the employee asking for it, and then the approving manager, and then that way select the priority and then select the start date. So let's say I'm saying 2 days of leave, and then if you have an attachment, we can put the attachment like the certificates or anything you might need to have, and then submit it. So that way, once you do that, that task is created here, which is submitted by the form, and you can see here it's assigned to to the manager, and obviously it's assigned to you. At the same time, if you go to the calendar view, you can go to the calendar view for that particular day, and you can see that person is on leave as well. So everyone under that space is aware that this person is on leave. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about, because approving leave is one process which can be it's the simplest way of explaining how useful a forms feature can be, and how useful it can be in terms of updating everyone about the employee taking leave. And not only that, because once you know someone is on leave, if that particular person is working on that task on that day, you can because it's a digital workflow in here, you can actually change the assignee in there as well, and say, okay, this guy is not here on that day, and you can just go about and change the assignee to that task also. So you can actually manage also that person's task while in his absence, so you don't have to delay work. Let's go on to the last point for today. It's about understanding how subcontractors can report you back about the project progress. Now this is a very common problem. There is work, and then you subcontract the work. Subcontractors have their own reporting, or they might even not have the Excels or the system you want them to report back to you. So that the way to get around it is you can create a folder or a space or and about subcontractors. So what I've done is created a subcontractors folder, and this is just for an example sake. I have saying, okay, there is this site, and then there is this excavation works related list, and within that there is a different site A, site B, and then there is a time estimated. I have put in the price, the subcontractor who is doing it, and then if you want the subcontractor to update you at the end of the day or during the work progress, you can give the guest access, or probably the subcontractor can come in here through their guest access and put in the information they like, or the information you want them to report